Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Eric. I'm the account manager for Connecting Up in TechSoup New Zealand. Connecting Up is part of the Info Exchange group, and Info Exchange is a not-for-profit social enterprise that's delivered technology for social justice for over 25 years. With over 100 staff across Australia and New Zealand, we tackle the biggest social challenges through the smart and creative use of technology. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's webinar, which is going to be a HubSpot overview, which is being presented by Ryan Jones from Refuel Creative. As the CEO and founder of Refuel Creative, Ryan Jones is a certified marketing professional with over 20 years experience in the industry. Ryan has spoken at conferences across Australia and Southeast Asia and shared his expertise in digital marketing, web design, and Google Ads. Ryan's passion for technology and marketing started at an early age. At age 12, he started building websites for local businesses to get them started online. With his experience as a website boy wonder under his belt, he went on to complete a Bachelor of Management in Marketing at the University of South Australia. In 2017, he formed his own marketing technology agency, Refuel Creative. Ryan created Refuel to provide expert advice and hands-on digital marketing assistance to organizations of all sizes, from startups to not-for-profits. With a strong and growing presence in the US and Australia, Refuel Creative is now an international company aiming to become a leading marketing agency in the APAC region. Now, we'll start with just a little bit of housekeeping before we get underway. All the lines are going to be muted, so if you've got any technical issues, just type that into the questions box on your webinar panel, and I'll do my best to assist you. If you've got any questions during the session, please also type that into the questions box so that we can tackle that throughout the session for you, because there will be time for Q&A. Now, please note your comments and questions will not appear to the entire group, though. They will just be appearing to me. Now, if you're on a Wi-Fi connection and if you've got multiple programs open, that can sometimes affect the quality of the audio and video of the webinar. So if possible, just close down your other programs just so you can have the best experience you can. Now, as a final note, this session is going to be recorded, so you will get a copy of the recording that will be uploaded later this week and emailed out to you if you want to catch it later. Likewise, there'll also be a short survey for feedback at the end once the webinar is over, and we'd love it if you could take a minute or two to share your feedback once this is all done. Otherwise, that's it for me now, so I'll hand it over to Ryan. Take it away from here.
Thank you, Eric, and welcome everyone to Overview of HubSpot. Eric's done all the introductions, so that's awesome. I want to get straight into demo today. So there's no slides, we're just going to work through it and chat about it as we go. Because we're doing it that way, I encourage you to ask questions when they come up. And I'll keep an eye on the questions and sort of ask them as they pop up so that we can cover them off when they're relevant. Other thing I want to mention today is we are going to go through and do a pretty general demo of HubSpot and what it is and how it works. I'm going to focus on the things that we find are most useful and practical to nonprofits. If there is anything in particular that you want to see in more detail, we probably won't have time in this session to dive into detail on everything. But after this webinar, a link will be sent out to you where you can book a time with myself or a member of my team, and we would be happy to do a personalized demo of some of the areas that you're not sure about. If there are any particular questions that you're hoping to get answered today on HubSpot, what it is and what it does and everything like that, fire them through to the questions box as soon as you're ready. But my plan for today is to essentially look through the core modules of HubSpot. So we'll start with what is pretty basic CRM functionality. So like the bread and butter of a CRM, contacts, companies, some of the custom objects functionality and how you can surface that information in lists. I'm sorry, Eric, but I'm going to use your contact record. I hope it's not embarrassing for you. With the marketing module, we're going to look at emails, we're going to look at some automations and some workflows and campaign tracking. With sales is a terrible name for the way that most nonprofits use that functionality, but consider sales to be how you generate revenue. So sales for a nonprofit often ends up being fundraising, it might be bequests, it might be generating government contracts. So we're going to cover a bit about how that works. We're going to look through service, how we deal with customer contacts, and then we'll finish up with any last questions, just so that you've got a clear idea of what it all does. I hope that sounds good. I hope you're excited. I'm going to share my screen now and we're going to get cracking. So you should now be able to see my reports dashboard in HubSpot. And I'm starting here because this is the default screen that most people see when they first go into HubSpot. They won't see this specific one, because if you're paying a lot of attention, you'll notice that this actually says this is Robina's marketing strategy research. And we have a number of different dashboards that surface key information. But when we're talking to people, one of the key things they bring up is, how do I report on all of this? I want to simplify my reporting process. I want to make it easier to get back to management and let them know about the awesome progress that we're making. So these dashboards are fully customizable. This particular dashboard here, my colleague Robina has set this up to surface some information that we don't necessarily always look at, but to help us inform where we focus on with our marketing strategy moving forward. So you can see here that this is how our deals come through, our new work. This is the original source of those deals. So you can see we've got 24 of them in total came through organic search, 9 through paid search, 4 through organic social, 5 through referrals, 24 through direct traffic, then 144 through offline sources. So in a CRM world, an offline source is typically somebody's given us a call, somebody's emailed, but they haven't hit the website, and that doesn't log any website activity as part of that. So this is really designed so that we can focus down on what we're doing. You can see we've gone into a bit of detail here, drilled right down into it. And then we're tracking some basic things like website sessions versus form submissions, so we can understand what our website performance is in terms of reaching our KPIs. And our KPI for our website here is leads coming through. Our website happens to also be on HubSpot, so we get everything in one place, which makes our life much easier. And then it's form submissions. So this is basically just surfacing a whole lot of information, so we've got a better idea of what's going on. Now, equally, we could break this down into several other areas. So you can see here, I can change this to my sales dashboard. This gives me an idea of contacts created, who's contacting different users, deal revenue that looks like it's being forecast, activity that's coming in, and so on. One that we're going to look at a little bit later on is just service. We implemented HubSpot's service module a couple of years ago now. We've automated it quite heavily. I won't emphasize that because we've actually got a recording on our website of how we did that. We shared that in a HubSpot user group recently. But this gives me some surface level data so I know whether we are meeting our customers' expectations when it comes to how responsive we are, how we're getting back to them. For example, here we've had 106 tickets come in from email in the last 90 days. Most of those were support. 7 of them were voicemails. So our phone system is integrated with HubSpot. So that tells us, that allows us to make sure that we're following up with voicemails as well. Voicemail average close time, so how long it takes to actually close a ticket that came in via voicemail, who's closing them, average time for a voicemail to be closed, support ticket average time to close. So you can see here that we break this down into a couple of different areas, and I'm jumping over a little bit because I want to give you a taste of what you can do when you've got the data in one place. And because we've got our phone system connected to HubSpot, we've got our support in HubSpot, we've got our website in HubSpot, we've got our marketing in HubSpot, everything's in HubSpot. So HubSpot knows everything about how we run the business. So knowing that allows us to pull out a lot more data and allows us to be able to better analyze the client outcomes that we have here. So for example, like with a support ticket, our priority is not solving it as quickly as possible, because there are some support tickets that come through that end up becoming quite big pieces of work, and they might take a month to complete that ticket properly. What we want to be able to do is get back to that person as quickly as possible and say, hey, we've got your ticket, we know what's going on, we're on to work, we're helping you out. So we track this by the person. We know average time to get that initial reply, who's closing the tickets, how long on average it takes to close a ticket. So even though I said that our priority isn't getting those completed as quickly as possible, you can see that this month it's taken 4.2 days on average to close a ticket. And that is sliding downhill nicely, so we know that's as short as possible. So this is just the sense that you can get when you've got all of this data in one place. So if I go over to our contacts, we have all of our contacts in our CRM. This is just our Eric's. So if I have a look at Eric's contact record, this is the kind of information that we're storing about Eric. Now, a great thing that HubSpot does is it looks at email signatures, it looks at domain names, and it pulls in a lot of information automatically. And so we've found that with companies that have used some other CRMs in the past, they're really afraid of the administration burden that might be put on their team. And then we go in there and we show them what data has been pulled in completely automatically. And they go, oh, well, phew, that's a big win for me. So it's a lot easier a process because the system's doing a lot of that hard work for you. The common questions that come through when we look at this contact record, first up, all of this information over on the sides can be customized. So you can customize it for your entire organization. You can customize it for different teams. So if a support team need to be able to see different information to a marketing team or a fundraising team, you can do that, that's fine. And that's probably where when you first start with HubSpot, what you would usually do is use a HubSpot partner like us to go through and do the setup for you, and we consult on the key information that needs to be available, and we would go through and build that out for you in the first instance. All of these fields, you can put custom fields in here. So it's quite common to put in a field about, I mean, we've had some completely random suggestions, like a sales-based organization that really wanted to be able to track what football team their prospect was interested in, so they could ring them up on Monday and say, hey, sorry, I saw your footy team lost on the weekend. We also, with organizations that fundraise, it's quite common for us to put a calculation field in there so that we can calculate the total sum of all of their donations in a lifetime. Again, we can track that reasonably well as long as the information is in HubSpot. We can also see their website activity. So Eric hasn't been on our website. Eric, we're going to discuss that after this call. Find out why you don't like our website. But we then over on the right-hand side, because this is a holistic view of Eric. First of all, I can see his company, which is Info Exchange. I can see any deals that are associated with Eric. So for us, a deal would generally be a project that we quote out. But for an organization that's raising funds, those deals could be donations. And we would typically track donations as deals. We can see any customer support tickets that Eric has raised. HubSpot are starting to move into payments and e-commerce. So I can create payment links for Eric to pay us, any subscriptions, all the attachments from every email that's been tracked, how he got there. We even have some other systems connected here, so we can see whether he is in LinkedIn and connect with him. We can see what lists Eric's in. Eric's in 9 different lists, any invoices, etc. So there's a lot of information that we're storing here. And that's why it's really important to be able to just streamline this as much as possible and allow people to see just the information they need. It's not about hiding information from them, it's about avoiding information overload. So HubSpot last year introduced this overview tab to try and simplify this. So this now shows me when the contact was created, what the lifecycle stage is, and when we last engaged. And it shows me the emails, companies. So it's just a top level view of everything that's going on. And then with the activities, this can actually be filtered. So I've filtered out the emails for today, but I can filter out this as much as possible. So I can see when Eric's opened emails, I can see what lists Eric's in, any automation actions that we've taken on Eric. So this functionality is really, we're talking about a contact record here. If I go over to a company record, which is where Info Exchange is, you can see more information is in here. You can see any meetings that we've had. You can see the contacts that we know at Info Exchange, any deals that we're working on, same information. And one really cool function that we find useful here is we can now track related companies. So if you're dealing with organizations that have got child companies, subsidiaries, government departments that have got mini government departments, I can now click add child company here, and I can go in and put connecting up in. And so that will now bring all of their information together for me. So, but the premise of the company card is the same as the premise of the contact card. Now, if you have an enterprise version of HubSpot, you can now build out what's called a custom object. And custom objects for NDIS providers in particular are fantastic because we find that a lot of NDIS providers need to be able to track a family unit almost as a company. So with we have contacts, we have companies, but now we can create a custom object called family, and we can track all the members of that family linked in as contacts. So that will allow you to go in and separate out parents, carers, clients, but still know that they're part of that family unit, and be able to log all of their activity in one place. So that is a big win. We've found some people trying to hack together solutions using the company's functionality, but it generally becomes quite problematic because a lot of these companies are created automatically from email domains. So it's a bit, it's not a great solution. It's not a great customer experience. Now, last thing I just want to cover before I moved on from companies and contacts is this functionality here around lists. And so lists in HubSpot, we have active lists and we have static lists. And you can see all of this is logged, so I know who created it. I can talk to them about why it was created, things like that. So if I've ever got a question about how it came together, I can go and have a look. Now, active lists in HubSpot, they will automatically add new people to them when those people meet the criteria. Static lists don't change unless I manually add people to them. There's a couple of exceptions to that, but in general, they have to people have to be manually added. Active lists are a godsend if you've got a list of criteria you want somebody to automatically appear on. So one that we were dealing with for a customer this week was people who have ordered a certain product on their website. It had to be one specific product. They need to go into their own active list. With another organization, we have an active list for their regular givers and an active list for their once-off givers. And people automatically move between the two based on if they upgrade to a regular giver or not. So they've got those options. So with an active list, all you really need to do is set your criteria. So in this case, this is an integration that we're using, and we've set, if the source is this particular integration, then put them in this list. Because we're trying to identify an issue where some junk email was coming in, and so we've found that, and we've got to fix that up. So there can be a bit of a learning curve to try and figure out what all of the different triggers and criterias are. But in general, you get a couple of examples set up, and then it'll be reasonably easy to work through that process. Now, before I move on from contacts, company records, and get into the fun stuff, the marketing and the sales and things, any questions come through, Eric?
We haven't had any questions come through yet, Ryan, but I'll let you know if we do.
Okay, thanks. All right. I will cover off one more thing because this blows people's minds when I show them this. All of our calls here are recorded. When somebody rings in, or so we dial out, the call is recorded and automatically logged in HubSpot. We use a phone system that connects in with HubSpot that allows us to do that. But my favorite thing here is that the activity is automatically assigned to the person that took the phone call. The call is automatically transcribed, and we can actually read the detail on those calls. So if we need a reminder of something, we have that all completely logged. All right, so everything is in a place where we can quite clearly see what's happening. And so for inbound or outbound call centers, phone counseling, things like that, you can actually, I will find one that I can share. You can actually see who spoke at different points of the phone call. You can see the call recording. You can see we can track terms. So if certain trigger terms are used, then we can track those here, and we can report on those trigger terms. So if you consider the kind of phone counseling you might provide, so let's say we work with a couple of organizations that offer pregnancy support phone counseling. You could have a track term in there of adoption, and then at the end of the month, you could pull a report that says how many phone conversations did our team have with people who were inquiring about adoption as an option. So the level of detail that you can get here and the level of coaching is quite quite mind-blowing at times, and definitely worth investigating and get, again, benefit of having all that content in one place. All right, so let's talk about marketing. And when we talk about marketing, the biggest thing that comes up all the time is email marketing. And that's certainly a starting point. So in this case, what I've done is pushed in on our main newsletter, which embarrassingly was our last newsletter, which again, embarrassingly said, sorry, it's been a while. But first things first, you can see we've actually got a personalization token in there. So we can use any of the data in the CRM to personalize the emails. So, and this is not an amazing trick really when you think about merge tags and things have been options for a long time. But small thing there. This is giving me my reporting on our open rates, our click-through rates, our reply rates, deliveries, and so this is where we go a bit different. So if you consider this as an option for a fundraising campaign, we can attribute the revenue to the email. So if you're sending out an email where the focus is to drive donations to your organization, this gives you a nice, clear, simple report that says, this is how much revenue, this is how many deals we can see with revenue, and this is how many contacts constituted those deals. So we know automatically whether these emails are working or not. You know, we've sort of moved beyond this point where we go, oh, well, you know, I sent 60 emails and I don't know, somebody replied, cool. This is all about, did they actually do what we wanted them to do? And what we really wanted them to do was make a donation. We can track that directly to the email. We track who those people are, the time spent reading the email. Did they read it? Did they skim it? Or did they just kind of glance at it? When did they look at it? What email program they used? And the email program is really important at the moment because Apple keep changing their settings around privacy, and particularly with email tracking. That's a big thing that's coming. You can read about that on our blog. So being able to track, if we know that Apple Mail is one of our biggest opens, we know that our data will be skewed. So what I'll do is clone this email. Now I'm going to use this as an automated email because we send it out using an automation tool that plugs into HubSpot that automatically sends the emails to every person in the database at a different time of the day and week based on when the CRM says that they're most likely to look at it. And we find doing that, getting the email to the person at the right time has a significant impact on open rates and click-through rates. We've found that about 20% of, so if you're looking at a database and you're getting 30 to 35% open rate, then what we're basically saying is we're getting 65% of people not opening it. We've found that sending the email to them at the right time allows us to rescue about 20% of those people and get them to start opening things. So that's what we really want to do. We want to send the right message to the right person at the right time. So here's my email. I know that it's going to be sent at the right time. I know that I've got a merge tag in the subject line. If you've used any kind of online builder, you know, a website page builder, MailChimp, something like that, this will all be pretty familiar to you because it's all drag and drop. You've got your content over here, you've got your layouts, you can save sections of an email so that you can use them over and over again. So the bare bones assembly of the email is pretty easy. Then the actual writing of the email is also easy, but we get to this personalized part. And so this is where we can insert any token that we want. So typically when somebody uses MailChimp, and MailChimp is probably the most common one we come across with nonprofits, people have a first name, maybe a last name, and a company name. In HubSpot, because it's your CRM, it's where all of your core customer information is stored. You can pull information from anywhere that you want. So you can pull information about tickets that people have in the system, support tickets, quotes that people might have been sent, any deals, their contact record, their company. And you can see some of these are custom fields that we've created for ourselves. Like here's did they attend a particular event that we ran in 2022? The date they became a lead. So we can use all of this information in a merge tag if we want. It'd be rare that you'd want to do that, but okay, it's there and we can do that. Where this becomes, so we can put company name in, that's a pretty common one. And you can override your default company that you've got set up in the company. So you could just change this to, if we don't know the company name, we'll just put in your company. Cool, okay, that's cool. But let's think about how we can personalize this more, because what we really want is the right message to the right person at the right time. So up here, I've got a more option, and I can add a smart rule. So I can add a smart rule based on a list membership or a contact lifecycle stage. So two options. So I showed you the list before, and while I've only got two options to create smart rules here, I could create a list with any number of different criteria so that I get a list of specifically the people that I want to talk to about something. But surface level, I can do contact stage. So let's say I want to talk to customers. And let's say I want to show something different to somebody who is a subscriber. So they've gone to our website, they've chosen to subscribe to our newsletter, but they're not actually talking to us about becoming a customer yet. Maybe I want to speak differently to leads. So I'll save those three for now. That gives me a couple of different options. Now you can customize those stages. So when we're talking about personalizing these emails, you can have a contact stage for donor. You can have a contact stage for somebody who has offered a bequest. You can have a contact stage for a funding body. And because, a funding body, you may not want to just send them a donation request. You might want to personalize that information differently. So I've got a smart module now, that's great. So if I go to manage my rules, you can see I've got those three set up. Now, I can just edit this for whatever. But over here, you can see I'm editing this for the default. So if it's a customer, let's change this. And let's say I'm a bit more familiar with a customer than I am a prospect. So let's just put their first name here. Okay, that's a really minor detail, but let's change this to subscriber. That's gone, and there's a different piece of information there. So I'll remove their company name. Here's a lead. So you can see here that it's very simple now to be able to show different information to different people. So if you're a member-based organization, it would be really common for a member-based organization to have non-members on their email list. Maybe they're expired members, maybe they're interested parties. If we know from the CRM that they are not currently members, we could put a rule in here to show something to members and then something completely different to non-members. So the call for non-members could be, hey, I know you're getting this email, but did you know you're not actually a member? Because it's mind-blowing the amount of times where we send that out and people ring up and they go, hey, I didn't know that my membership had lapsed. Can we talk about renewing that? So even something that simple can have a big impact on what your outcomes are for your emails. And so that's personalizing the email and personalizing the information in the email. And you can do that based on any block. So I could add a rule here to show a different image. I could add a rule here to change the text. In this case, I can do the whole text box. This is called a call to action or a CTA. I can change those based on what I know about somebody. And so you've got this really layered kind of approach where you can customize this as much as you need to for each different group of people. My only word of caution with this personalization is you need to make sure that you've got enough critical data to be able to meaningfully personalize this communication. If you've got, let's say, 1,000 people in your database, and you want to segment this out so that you're showing personalized information to 500 groups, so there's only 2 people in each group, it's not worth the time that it takes to set up. I mean, you can do it, it's fine, but I wouldn't recommend it because it's just too granular. You won't get statistically significant information off the back of it, so you can go, okay, cool, I personalized this for non-members who own dogs and live in Adelaide CBD. That would be a very small list. You can't actually get enough information from those people to go, that was worthwhile or not. So think about big stuff to start with, like member versus non-member, donor versus non-donor, regular donor versus one-off donor versus bequests. And think about how you can personalize your communication for those different groups and create enough information. So just one last thing with the email, you can create an A/B test here. If you're not familiar with what an A/B test is, it is an option to test different things in the email to see what is going to get you the best outcome. And so here you can see that it actually lets me choose my A/B distribution. So what it is going to do is it's going to send version A of the email to 50% and version B to 50%. And then once it's got enough data from those 2 versions, it will send the winning version to the rest of the database. So that just allows us to make sure that we're constantly improving the performance of our emails, which is really important. But it also allows us to just learn more about what works with our audience. All right. Now, we have talked a bit about marketing. I haven't seen any questions come through on my view, so I imagine that means that there are none yet, Eric.
That's
Either
right.
I've lulled everybody to sleep or I've explained it really well. I'm choosing to believe I've explained it really well. Cool. Okay, so I showed you how we can track the performance of the emails. Now, HubSpot does a lot of different things in the marketing module. So they have an ads tool, which will plug into your Google Ads account, which hopefully you're running a Google Grants ad account. It will plug into your Facebook and your LinkedIn ad accounts, and it will be able to show you how many contacts and how many donations or revenue were generated from those ads. So it's a level above what you would get out of those individual ad platforms, because it shows you who did the action, what they did, and how much they really actually spent as a result. So, you might find that your Facebook ads manager is showing you that you've generated $10,000 worth of donations from a Facebook ad campaign. But then you might use the HubSpot data to be able to see, oh, okay, well, I might have generated 10,000, but it was all one-off donations, and the goal of my ad campaign was recurring donations. So the ads tool is going to be able to let you segment that out. We've got a landing page tool so that we can build out pages for little campaigns and microsites. We have a social tool. I don't really want to show the social tool today because it looks basically the same as everybody's social tool. Post out to your different social networks. There's a website tool, so we use HubSpot to host our website, drag and drop, basically the same interface as the email builder. So I'll skip over that. But what I want to sort of mention here is the campaigns tool, because the campaigns tool is really where all of this comes together. And so you can build a campaign that consists of the assets that it consists of, and that will streamline your tracking of the performance of these campaigns. So you think about when you run a campaign, like we helped RSPCA recently with a Million Paws Walk. So a Million Paws Walk was Facebook ads, it was Google ads, it was bus wraps, it was billboards. So there's all these different aspects that go into that. So what we can do from campaigns tool is actually put them all together. So for example, we recently ran a activation at our conference, and I can see here that this created 6 new contacts for us. That was their first ever interaction with us, and it influenced 24 contacts. So 18 of them were in the database, but maybe we hadn't spoken to them for a while. Now I can also see at this stage, there's no revenue and there's no deals attributed to this, which for us, we are generally a bit more long-term, so I wouldn't consider that a failure just yet. I can see when the new contacts were generated, but then this is the part that I like. So we sent workflow emails out when people registered. We ran a Mario Kart competition because, yeah, that's what we do. We managed to organise for the Wine Centre, the National Wine Centre in Adelaide. We did a champagne spray in the foyer. It was awesome. So when you registered, you got a series of emails that were sent out to you based on who you were. So you can see they're a bit different based on the different audiences. We had a single form, which was to register for the Mario Kart competition. That happened on a landing page. There were social posts about this topic. There was a workflow about this topic. And then there was website traffic received about this topic. So what we've done here is we've gone, all right, well, what's everything to do with this campaign? We can put it in one place and we can really learn whether this is effective or not. And so many marketers I speak to, whether they're in corporations, whether they're in non-profits, whether they're in small business, reporting on the impact that marketing has is a constant pain point. So being able to go into HubSpot and just see it, when you create the asset, you just link it to, here there's an add assets button, you just choose it and off you go. You can add any of these assets off the side here. So for example, a cool trick is if you've gone to a conference and you've got people to fill out a form in paper, You put that in a spreadsheet, import it in as a static list, and then track the performance of that list over time, so you know whether that conference was worthwhile or not. So it's really about, like, let's know what is and isn't working. What is the asset that's driving leads here? It's the landing page, because that was the only way they could become a lead for this competition. So we're really understanding performance of assets, performance of campaigns, and what the outcome was. And if you are in a role where you need to be able to justify the performance of the marketing in order to try and get more budget to improve on the marketing, this is how you do it. Because most of the time, if you can actually explain in dollars and cents, like, this is the outcome that we're expecting, this is what we got last time, people go, okay, well, I understand in a lot more detail now. So even down to adding your budget, so you can add what you spent, whether that's online or offline, and really get a holistic figure of the return that you're getting from it. Okay, so let's talk about workflows. And let's have a look at our Mario workflow as an example. So workflows are where we start automating behavior and start automating communication out to people. So what this allows us to do is send communication based on certain criteria happening. So in this particular case, if somebody filled out a form, and it's a particular form, which was our Mario Kart entry form, they would get enrolled in this workflow, and all the subsequent branches would happen to them as a result. So what we did was we planned this out, and we went, okay, if somebody triggers this workflow by filling in this form, we send them an SMS, say, hey, you registered, great. Then we waited 4 days, and then this cool little widget allows us to optimize the timing of the email. So this means that at some point over the next 24 hours, they'll get the email at a time that suits them. Then we send them an email. Then we wait 17 days for them to take action. 17 days would be, so 2.5 weeks. So that would be based on the business days, and you can make these only run on business days. And then check whether somebody actually booked a meeting. So the focus of this particular email was to book a meeting with our team, to talk about how we might be able to help you. So then what we do is go, hey, well, okay, our focus was booking a meeting. Did they book a meeting after this date? So, and then we have these branches. So if they scheduled a meeting, we stop. So nothing more to do. The meeting was booked. We spoke to them. We don't need to keep working on a workflow. And we could do other things that are more contextual as a result. But if they didn't book a meeting, well, we want them to book a meeting. So again, we set our timer. Let's optimize the send time. Let's send them an email, and then let's wait 20 days. And then let's check again if they booked a meeting. And if they booked a meeting, it's done. So if they didn't, well, who are they? What kind of industry are they in? And so then we branch this out and we go, okay, well, if they're an agency, let's send them a specific email. If they are a nonprofit, let's send them a different email. If they are a corporate, different. Again, so we are personalizing this. Now, we could have just personalized the emails, but doing it this way allows us to really make the journey specific. So if it's government, well, I mean, I'm on a call with nonprofits, so we've all dealt with government. We all know how slow they are. If they haven't responded in a couple of weeks, that's probably normal. So we might give them a bit more time, and they might be a lower priority. If they're a non-profit, we might let them know about some of our non-profit case studies, look at a couple of different ways that we can help them. So from a donations perspective, this is awesome, because what we can do is go, okay, if they make a one-off donation, that's going to trigger the workflow. And we're going to say thank you for your one-off donation, but we're going to build an entire workflow here to try and get you to make a regular donation. We want to be respectful of the fact that you've made a once-off donation. That's really important to our organization. But we also really want that one-off, that regular giving. That's our goal. So you think about this from the context of like doing one-off emails out to audience. You can't do this at scale. You have to do this with 2,000 people manually, sending them an email, sending them an SMS, giving them a call. It's not realistic to be able to do that. So HubSpot on a pro tier and above, you get access to this functionality, and you're able to map this out and automate it so that it's always available to, so it's basically always going to run. Somebody fills in your contact form, let them know that you're going to get back to them, ask them to fill out a survey or subscribe to your newsletter or something like that. Something really common that we do, so two things. So one is if you ring us and we miss the call, you can see we've got 252 workflows set up here. If you ring us and we miss a call, you get a text message if you ring from a mobile that says, hi, we got your voicemail. Sorry, we're not available at the moment, but we're going to call you back as soon as possible. The other one, which has been great for the team really, is just when you send in a support ticket, when that support ticket is complete, we send you a survey to say, thank you for choosing to use us. Please let us know how this support ticket went. And if you get good feedback from that ticket, or we send that into our internal communications, which we use Slack, and everybody gets a thing that says, hey, Adam got really good feedback on this support ticket. So it's a nice way of recognizing people when they've done something really good, and customers are recognizing they've done something really good. Equally, if they say, actually no, feedback is bad on this ticket, I get an email to let me know that the feedback was poor, and I can go back to that client and say, hey, really sorry, had a less than ideal experience. What happened? Like, tell me what happened and tell me how we could deal with that better in the future. So, and your imagination is really the limit here. The more information that you've got connected into HubSpot, the more of this that you can automate, and the more things can happen while you're asleep, essentially. Eric, have we got any questions?
We have not got any questions yet, but I think now is an excellent time if anyone's got any to go ahead and ask.
I'm gonna charge through on a couple other points, but yeah, make sure that you send through any questions that you've got, and we can make sure that those get answered. A couple of other things that I like about HubSpot, you might have noticed that we're kind of moving between the menus here, and everything is in one place behind one login. So you don't have to sign different logins, and permissions are quite granular so that you can give people just the access that they need. But it saves that, oh, what tool was that we needed to do this thing? But the other thing is that the interfaces all look quite similar. So I showed you before the contact interface and the company interface. If I go to the deal interface, so I don't want to show too much customer information. So we've got a ticket pipeline here we use for some automation. So I can see that my tickets are all categorized here. And it shows me some data up here about the deal amounts and the open deals. And again, sales is really a terrible name for how nonprofits use it, but we can't change that sales label. So we look at this as a pipeline view essentially. So this is a board view. You can change this over to a list view, and you can see that information there as well. Now, this is essentially how we display all of the new business deals. It's how I would display donations if you were using it for donations functionality. But then if you go to tickets, it's the same. It's very much the same. We have customized out the stages so that we know what's happening and where. So is it a new ticket? Is it a, have we categorized it? Are we resolving it? Have we updated the customer? Are we waiting on the customer? And we can automate what happens with these tickets based on the stage that it's in. So for example, if we are waiting on the customer, that customer will get an email once a week to say, hey, we are waiting for this piece of information on your ticket. If you have that information, great, let us know. We can get this tidied up. If we haven't got that information, well, we can close this off for you if you'd like. So it's very much a really about, and it's not about removing the humans from the process, it's about allowing us to be more responsive to the customer needs. So, and then we can build that out as reports to note that. I'm going to stop there and see if we've got any more questions. And I'm happy to stay on the call and show things until we run out of questions.
Thanks, Ryan. We haven't got any questions just yet, but I will give people, I know we've got a few more minutes here, so I'll give people some time to put their thoughts together and ask them if they've got any. While people are thinking of questions, I will just remind folks that, again, this session was being recorded, so I will be sending you all an email later today or early tomorrow morning with a link to this recording so that you can view this whenever you'd like. Again, just as a quick reminder, there will also be a feedback survey once I close down the webinar, so if you could spare a minute or so to fill that out for us, that would be much appreciated. Otherwise, Ryan, thank you as always. Fantastic webinar. Good to see you again. And thanks you all to everyone that showed up. It's good to see you all joining this webinar. I hope you had a really good time. Again, if you've got any questions, please go ahead and fire away. But look, if you're watching the recording or if they come to mind later, please don't hesitate to send those through. I'm sure Ryan can help you out.
Sure. Since we are on a nonprofit call, the other thing I will probably emphasize is that the CRM functionality I showed, with the exception of the custom objects, you can do that on the free version of HubSpot. So HubSpot starts off free and goes to enterprise level pricing for enterprise level functionality. But if your organization needs a CRM like this, and you're afraid of the cost implications of getting set up, that free tier can deliver an enormous amount of value. We're working with Connecting Up to provide a discounted setup. So you can actually get set up for not a lot of money for a CRM and then grow into it as the organization grows if budget is a scary conversation for you at the moment. We find the sweet spot for most is that pro level. because you need the workflow functionality to do the automation, and that is available with a pretty hefty nonprofit discount. But don't let that scare you away if you're a smaller organization, because you can definitely use that free tier.
Awesome, thanks Ryan. Well look, it doesn't look like we've had any questions come through, although I will note that Therese has said thank you, so thanks Therese for the feedback. So I think we are all okay to end here. Again,
Awesome.
Thank you so much again Ryan, enjoy the rest of your day, and to
All right,
everyone
Eric.
else still on the call, have a great time.